Hello everybody and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video we will be talking about Donald Trump and his new very interesting strategy to actually target blue states in the 2024 election. Now there were rumors of this coming from people inside the Trump campaign, but now he has just revealed it exclusively with this media organization. He spoke exclusively to them where he said that he will be targeting the 5 blue states of New York, which just 6 years ago in 2018, Chuck Schumer won by like 50% in the Senate election, just to mind you there. New Jersey, Virginia, New Mexico, and Minnesota. So these 4 states, just to give you a sense of their politics, number 1 is New York. Going back to 2016, Hillary Clinton won it by 22.6%. Biden won it by 23.1%. Makes you wonder why exactly Donald Trump is doing this. But there was a gubernatorial election, I will mind you, in 2022 that showed it as a very winnable state for Republicans, but we'll get to that. Minnesota went to Hillary Clinton by 1.5%, swung so much to the left. Biden won it by 7.1. Virginia went to Clinton by 5.3. Biden wins it by 10.1, an almost times 2 shift to the left. New Mexico, Clinton won by 8.2. Biden won by 10.8. And New Jersey. Clinton won New Jersey by 14.1%, and Joe Biden won it by 15.9%. So, 5 states, with the exception of New York, nope, not even, all 5 states that are over, not over 10 points, but that are very Democratic, as you can see, and all of which actually swung to the left when you go from 2016 to 2020. We can look at the shift here. 2020, what? Okay, here we go. As you can see, so much blue on the electoral map when you look at the swing from 2016 to 2020. Minnesota swung 5.6% to the left. New York swung 0.4, pretty stagnant. New Jersey, pretty stagnant, 1.8. Virginia, not so much, 4.8%, which is so significant. And New Mexico swung 2.6% to the left. So, Donald Trump obviously having a very interesting and new strategy going into 2024. These 5 states were definitely not ones that he was targeting in 2020, and as you can see, it is very clear from the swing map because they all swung from the left. Now, if you look at just 2016, that makes more sense. At least Minnesota, it was very, very close. This was expected to be a safe Democratic state. It only went to Clinton by 1.5%. That took a while to count those votes. On election night, it took all day. To know, that was one of the last states to be called. In New Mexico, I didn't think the margin was that much. 8.2, somewhat close, I guess. But Virginia, mostly 5.3%. Clinton won Virginia by. So in 2016, at least in 2016, not so much 2020 at all, but in 2016, at least a couple of these states Trump was able to make close. So I think that he's looking at these and saying, if I made them this close in 2016 with now a president who's more unpopular than Democrats were in 2016, who is more popular or unpopular than Barack Obama was in 2016. I think he's saying, and looking at these states now, I think I can put them over the tipping point for me. That at least makes sense for Virginia and Minnesota. Some others, not so much. In New Mexico, Clinton won by 8.2. Biden won it by 10.8. That is a very Democratic state. if you look at the gubernatorial election in 2022, it was somewhat close, but that Republican nominee, Mark Ronchetti, was just an absolutely phenomenal, already well-known, very moderate candidate. Nothing like Trump, in this 2-point swing from 2016 to 2020 shows you that these New Mexico independent, Democratic, even Republican voters really turned away from Trump. And then there's New York. The only reason I'm sure Trump is even considering New York is because of the gubernatorial election 2 years ago in 2022, where the Republican Lee Zeldin, he was a U.S. representative from Long Island, he was able to make it the race really, really close. It was decided by 5.5%, closer than anyone was expecting. It took quite a while to declare a winner in New York, and it turned out to be really close, more than anyone could have expected. However, again, just like Ronchetti in New Mexico, Trump is not a Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin was seen as a moderate, unifying, reasonable figure, and even though Biden is very unpopular, especially in a state like New York, where in urban areas people are struggling financially even harder than in more suburban or rural areas. Even though that's the case, it's not necessarily going to put Trump at an advantage, because these voters hate him even more. It's typically younger voters in these urban areas who are very unhappy with Trump and Biden. And then they turn to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., where he is beating, I mind you, Trump and Biden in among young voters, 18 to 25-year-olds, I believe, I think it was 18 to 30-year-olds, in a handful of swing states. That was only in swing states that this poll was taken, but I'm sure the same goes for other states as well. Not necessarily beating, but performing very well. So I think that Trump might be looking into these numbers with RFK Jr. probably going to be on the ballot in a state like New York or New Jersey. And sorry. And I think he's going to say lots of 2020 Biden voters, maybe 2016 Hillary voters, these younger, more progressive voters, are going to turn to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because they see Biden as too old and are never going to consider Trump. I think he's looking at that and saying, Biden is at a huge disadvantage in swing states. I should definitely capitalize on this. So I think that's where he's coming from. Possibly in states like New York or New Jersey, and especially New York, it was proven in 2022 that it can be close. And I'm sure that New Jersey could be proven that it could also be close if they have the right candidates. Not looking like they will in 2024, and they absolutely did not in 2022 because there were no elections there in New Jersey in 2022 statewide. But there was the 2021 gubernatorial election, where that race was extremely close. But then again, the Republican, what was his name? Jack Ciattarelli. He was a very moderate liberal, unifying, well-known figure. And Donald Trump can't really replicate that, as he can't for Lee Zeldin in New York or Mark Ronchetti in New Mexico. So I'm not really positive where he's coming from on some of these states. But maybe Kennedy could make him close, because in these urban areas, Kennedy is going to pull lots of votes away from Biden. But do I see this strategy working? I could see it in states that were somewhat close in 2016. Minnesota and Virginia, possibly, but then again, Virginia went to Biden by 10, so probably not in Virginia either. I just really don't understand it, and I don't think it would work out. I mean, looking back at the shift from 2016 to 2020, an almost 5-point shift to the left is extremely significant. A 5.6% shift to the left is extremely significant. It shows how much voters in some of these states shunned Trump, turned away from Trump dramatically. And looking at 2024, even though Biden is so unpopular in blue states, I don't see all that much changing. I could see where you're coming from in swing states. Obviously, if you have an unpopular incumbent, they're going to care about that more than the former president. But in blue states where it's not to say vibes, but where they stand with politically and not if they're doing a good job or not whether it doesn't matter if they believe they're doing a good job. It's who they align with politically. That's the case for who blue states vote for, if you understand what I'm saying. So I don't think that the strategy will help Trump at all. So these 5 states, obviously, so important. They make up 70 electoral votes, if I remember correctly. But if Trump was able to flip these 5 states, obviously he won't. New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, New Jersey, and New York. That is extremely significant. But then you open up states like the supercritical states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all for the Democrats. If you're not putting resources in these states, and putting it in literally unwinnable states like New York, New Jersey, Virginia, I guess Minnesota and New York and New Mexico are in some way winnable, but most of these states are absolutely unwinnable. So, I mean, I'm characterizing them as red right now. Obviously, I don't think a single one will go to Donald Trump, but just for the sake of it. But if you're putting money, energy, spending time, he said he's going to hold rallies in Manhattan, in New York City. So if you're spending your time, your money, critical time and money and resources in blue states, again, you're opening the blue wall for Democrats. They can definitely hold on to New Hampshire. That's definitely a winnable flip, but if you're not worrying about that, they definitely hold on to Maine second. And then you're opening up Arizona, Nevada. Right now they probably have Georgia, even if they do put resources in the blue states. North Carolina, Texas. So I have it like this right now. But obviously, if he can't win New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, New York, the partisan lead is just so away from Donald Trump. And if you look back in recent history, let's not compare here. Let's see, how do we get out of compare? If you look back at recent history, there is really not a state with a very heavy PVI to one side going for the other candidate. Really, the last time this has happened was in 2008, which is now, it just is turned 2024. That means it's now 16 years ago in 2008. You could argue that Indiana, their PVI sways heavily to the right, to the Republicans. However, it did go to Barack Obama. And that was really the only one where the PVI is heavily to the other side. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And on gubernatorial elections, it is something totally different. And when I brought up those examples in New Mexico, New Jersey, New York, Virginia with Glenn Youngkin winning the gubernatorial election. When I bring up those examples, they're all gubernatorial elections. Notice how I don't mention a Senate election once, because it doesn't happen anymore in national elected position contests, elections. So, because, voters are very much willing to vote for the other party if it's just affecting their state, not the makeup of Congress or the president or whatever. So when I say those examples, they're all gubernatorial examples. And Donald Trump cannot replicate that. He is running on the presidential level. He just doesn't have what it takes to make states like New York, New Jersey, Virginia, New Mexico, and Minnesota close. So I don't think a single one goes to him. And if he puts all this time and money into these states and kind of forgets about some other states, look where it ends up. It ends up with a Biden victory, 287 electoral votes to 251. So Donald Trump should abandon this strategy, but it's a very interesting move, and I'm interested to see where it goes. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.